Hey guys, Rick Shaw back again, and I just was looking at the bike today, getting ready to clean her up a little bit, and something I didn't want to say about it. There's the bike right there. That motor's a stress member to this bike. Something that I did notice, the frame comes down here to the motor mount right here, and that's where it ends. It ends right there, okay? And then back here, it connects up in the back. Now something that I just noticed, the foot pegs, this is a pretty solid piece of metal, and it needs to be a hard piece of steel, is bolted right to the bottom of this motor down here. Let me go to the other side, maybe you can see it better. Okay, and so it's bolted right there. Okay, and here's a big back piece. Okay, so is that on the motor? It's on the side of the motor, yeah, and it's bolted down here on the motor. And I'm thinking, now this looks like it might bend. I don't know. That's a pretty solid piece of metal right there. If that doesn't give and bend on a fall, what's going to happen is you're going to bust your case. You'll bust your case. That's why it's a good idea to make this a tricycle bike. But if you take a high side and it flips over and hits this thing real hard, hits this, it looks like it'll bust your case. I would think that a workaround on that would be to put this on a hinge so that they could flip up in an accident without damaging the case so bad. Now me, when I bought this bike, I basically pretty much bought it on the price point because I didn't want to take a loan on a motorcycle. I don't like to do that. I wanted to pay cash for it, which I did. And but that's something there that you got to be really careful, I think, in a fall on this one. So, but this is also protecting it a little bit. My wife puts all her weight on that when she gets on. It seems to be holding up well, so that might help it some. But that's something that I think Yamaha, something they could have done was hinge this. They probably would have brought the price up some, but that's just my thoughts on it. We are planning on doing this onto a trailer type bike. They have a big trailer that just the front wheel sticks out right here, and then it's goes over the top here, goes all the way back and way back here, and then it's got like a jeepney entrance in the back. I'll have to get the picture of that and put it on the front again, what I'm looking for. But that's just something I noticed today. I was riding it today. I took my wife down and picked her up and brought her back.
Is Wesley gonna come?
I don't think today, bub. Pretty soon we'll see him again. But that's just something that just really looked at good today, because I was looking her over, checking her for any kind of leaks or anything like that. We're not having any kind of problem with that on this bike. It's running like a brand new bike, actually. Now, the one thing, excuse me, the one thing that I do on it continually is I will bottom this, just with me on it. I'll bottom this front suspension out. I would like to have a little bit heavier springs in here, because I bottomed that out. The back is fine, but the front is a little too buttery for me. I do bottom it out, and that's gonna lead to problems in the long run when you bottom them like that with the seals and just the bottom part. It doesn't seem like in here they have a cushion in here, because you can feel it hit and hear it. A lot of the bikes still have a cushion in there where when it goes to bottom, it'll hit a rubber boot or something like that. But I don't feel that in this bike. But that's just something I figured I'd let you guys know about this one. Something to be aware of. We do plan on getting this thing into a people mover for us. I don't want it just a single bike. I'm looking at 3 bikes. There's the actually could be 4, depends on the prices I find. I like the CRF150L Honda. I like it for the simplicity, because there's no radiator. It's an air-cooled. It's called the Unicorn motor. It's pretty nice. The only thing I noticed when I sat on one, the suspension was extremely soft for my weight. So, I don't know, that one might have to have a little bit heavier springs on it. It's doable. Now, the one that I didn't think I would have to do anything to at all, because the suspension was good enough for my weight, was the WR155R. That one I could probably just buy, get on it and ride and be done. So I'm liking that one, but it's got a radiator. It's got, you know, more things that could go wrong. The simplicity part of it, and but that's where I'm at with that. Then also there's the CRF 250L and the CRF 300L. Now the 300L is all new bike this year. That really looks like a good one, but I'm starting to see some pretty good deals on the CRF 250L. And I'll look. You know, I always weigh this stuff out, money to, you know, to value what I'm getting. And, you know, if something's, you know, a considerable amount more, I'm not going to pay it. Yeah. Okay. So that's where we're at with that right now. But I don't know. I still would get this one again. I mean, it's not a great bike for a single person on it because it's not as it just doesn't seem as balanced. Seems like everything, the weight, they're just too much on top. But it's a good looking bike. I think it's a beautiful bike, and we will get it if I can get one of those jeepney backs where I'll be completely inside and covered in the rain. Because if we take another trip to like Mindoro, if it's just us guys, you know, it was fun to do it on the tricycle. We had a blast. My wife and I took a huge trip before on the motorcycle. Hey guys, cool. And then we also took the family. It's when Matthew was just a baby and we had Dorothy. We took a trip to Mindoro and spent a few weeks down there, and took the tricycle, and it was great. You know, it was a nice ride. I like the idea of, instead of being on the highway, I like taking the side roads, and I can see when you're on a tricycle, you're not going that fast. I can see really good. And I loved that Honda, the TMX Honda with the custom-made tricycle. I had a sidecar. That was really great. That was a nice machine. And that one, before I put the tricycle, we had it for over a month, and I took my wife on that when we were breaking it in many times, and it was very stable. You know, it was Honda stable. And the folks who got it, we do notice that they don't really maintain it. I was back over there one time and was driving it for them somewhere, and the chain broke because they just let the chain rust completely to hell. The sprockets were shot. I mean, they needed to be replaced, and they're just not giving it. Hadn't looked like the oil was changed, and it was still running. The motor was running fine, but this one here, that's just something I noticed, and I wanted to run it past you guys just so you know. Kind of cool how they did it. A lot of companies are stressing the motor as a stress member to reduce weight. This bike, I think the curb weight on it was only 255, so it's only a couple pounds heavier than I am. Which is kind of cool, and it is easy. If it leans over, it's really easy to stand back up. You know, I was on it one day, and I went to put it on the kickstand, didn't have the kickstand down, and it went over pretty far. It didn't hit or anything like that, but I was able to easily just stand it back up. It was no big deal at all. Real easy to manhandle. But that's my little trick on this YTX125. It does cruise along at a really good speed, even though it's only a 4-speed transmission in it. I do know if I get that back on it, I'm going to go with probably 4 teeth up on the back, 4, maybe even 6 on the back, because that'll be pulling that big trailer with the family in it, and won't need to have a high speed. You know, it's going to be mainly for my side road city runner. That's the plan, and hopefully I can get that. If not, we'll do a tricycle again. But if I do a tricycle, I'd like to do something that they don't do here. We went to a custom tricycle builder before. He could build you anything you want. He's building some pretty cool looking tricycles now. He's up there in Binion. Might even go back to him, because I was thinking, you get behind a tricycle and there's a car in front of them, like my Mobilio, and those tricycles are as wide as the car, because they sit 2 people side by side, and Filipinos 3 can sit side by side in those dang things, and then they get people on the seat and all that. And I was thinking, why don't you make a tricycle that's much narrower than that, and have the people like they're on a motorcycle seat, run a seat all the way down the center of the sidecar, and then one person sits in the back, next person sits in front of them, next person in front of them, and narrow it out a little bit so you can get through in a lot of places. And then instead of the wheel sticking out so far, kind of embedded into it, make it a little bit easier to judge. When I first got my tricycle, we had a canal where I used to park. You wouldn't believe how many times I dropped that in the canal because I didn't have where the wheel was yet. It took me a while to learn that. And I actually also, when I was coming into traffic one time, the guy let me in, and he stopped, and I hit his hubcap with my bolt. They have a bolt that sticks out of the rear axle on the tricycle part, and I busted his hubcap. But he was real nice guy. He's like, don't worry about it. You know, he was real cool, nice guy. You know, usually the ones that let you in like that are nice guys in the first place. So that was kind of cool. But I'm liking it. You know, I had some of my friends from the States, they looked at the video and they were hitting me on the messenger and saying, you know, but it's got drum brakes and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you what, right now, these drum brakes haul this thing down quick, fast, and in a hurry. They're just fine. I mean, it's definitely more of a squeeze than if you have calipers. They're a lot easier to squeeze it down, but I got some good size hooks. I can lock this thing down real quick. My wife and I had to do an emergency stop when we were going over to her brother Toto's. We had to bring him his phone the one day, and it was a late night drive, and we were coming past a truck, and dog ran out from underneath the truck wheel, and we got this thing stopped in the nick of time, and I was real happy with how well it stopped. But now a lot of people, I notice a lot of them, they have this way in. Well, right now I got mine way out. I want a handful. I want a handful of this. Clutch isn't much I can do about it. Clutch is like butter on these things. It's unbelievable how easy the clutch pull is. I want to get in here and lube up these cables here pretty quick. I have a cable luber. So I don't get crap all over the place, and I'd like to, it's buried. This next month I want to get that cabinet for here and get all my tools so that I can go into my tool cabinet and just grab what I need. I'll lock it. I'm not worried about anybody taking anything here, but I'm going to lock it mainly to keep the kids out. Guys, it's to keep the kids out. There's so much stuff here in this house that I can't find because the kids pick it up and then put it somewhere else. And they're learning, you know, they're starting to learn not to do that. They're starting to learn how to put things where it goes, but it's a learning thing. It's just what it takes. That's just all there is to it. But there's so many things I like about it, these little niggly things that I got. I would like to, after we get the back on it, I'll reassess what I do with the front springs here. You know, maybe it needs them, maybe it doesn't. You know, being with the weight will be back here, the way they lock this thing onto the back of the bike. So I may not need to do anything with the front because it'll put most of the weight on the back of this thing. But that trailer thing, that's the thing I really want. My buddy Mike, that's down there in Mindanao. That's where those are big down there. You see them everywhere. It's not like here. You don't see them here, but you do see them in Mindanao a lot. I found a price of 70, and he had got back with me on the messenger and said he seen them down there if it was around 50. And I would even consider looking at a used one if it was in pretty good shape. I've seen some of them used that were pretty beat up. But there's some of them down there that are used too that would be in good shape as long as they got decent tires. I'd like to have the one with the brakes in the back. They make them with brakes and without. And personally myself, climbing through any kind of a hills or anything with just the brakes on this bike, if it was a long hill, I'd be worried about overheating. And the engine braking on this thing, although it's good, if you got a lot of weight pushing behind it, it's just going to rev that motor, you know, to the moon. So I would definitely want the brakes on the back. I did see the fella the way he had his brake done on the back. It was like an extra lever that he hit. They were mechanical and they were drums on it, and it would be easy. It would be easy to figure that out. So that's just my thoughts on this bike again today. I was getting ready to clean it up and was just looking it over. Before I clean it, I always like to look for oil and leaks and stuff, because once you wash it, you're not going to see them for a little bit if they're just seeping. But nothing. The only oil I got underneath the motor is what's coming off the chain, because I've oiled that. I oil the chain quite often, and I'm always in here checking my tires. The tires are holding air really good, even though these nipples here are rusted. I hope Yamaha will jump on that, and I do think they should put this on so it would kick up out of the way. A lot of dirt bikes have that. Tons of dirt bikes. This thing is really heavy. I don't think you're going to kick that in too hard to bust the case. I really don't. But I also always like the shifters. This one, the way I set it up, I got it down low enough. This looks protected enough. Even if it goes in, I don't think it's going to bust. It's just a cover right here. It's not going to go in and hit. See, I got a little grease from the chain there. So I'm not worried about this one at all busting my case. That's why I got it down. That's why I have it down like this, because when it was factory, it was right here, and if it smacks that case, I got a hole. So we don't want that. Love the bike so far, though, guys. Love the seat on it. I actually love the old Honda seats that just went from here and went straight across with no little extra rise or anything. That's a stylish thing. But I had a Honda 750 that just had one straight across. It was a pleated seat that went straight across. Most comfortable seat. The old bikes, you never had to change the seats. But as the new bikes came in, for me, it was always getting rid of the seats because they sucked. They try to make them so that, yeah.
Can we play after rocks?
Yeah, go ahead. But stay away from where the guys are working. But, they try to make them so a little guy can slide forward on them, and a big guy is supposed to sit back, but it doesn't work that way. A big guy winds up sliding forward, and it bunches your underdrawers up, and after a while, it's like, man, I just want off of this damn thing. And a lot of bikes. No, you put it on your back. There was a lot of, like the Harley, when I had that big Harley Fat Bob, that had a seat like that. And I wound up buying I stuck with a Harley seat, a big King and Queen, because that was souped up and it gave me something to push against. It was a King and Queen job, a real big one. That turned out to be real comfortable. Pricey, $500 and some seat with the trade-in on the old one. So it's expensive. I think it was going to be about $700 and something without the trade-in. And then I had other bikes like the CRF, or actually it was XR. I keep calling it a CRF 650L. It was a XR 650. That bike, you might as well have been sitting on a 2x6. That was absolutely miserable. I did that one myself. I had a buddy that had been into reupholstering and stuff like that, and he got out of the business, and he had a bunch of stuff, box full of upholstery. He says, here, take this, fix it yourself. And I had a real good, a buddy of mine gave me an electric staple gun, a real good one, not like the hand ones. And I had a really nice top. The guy gave me a red, like a Naugahyde stuff, and I plushed that seat out. I basically shaved off all the factory stuff that was on there because it was very hard, and then I layered it. It came in little pieces this big, and I layered on a soft one, and then I put a hard one in there, sprayed it in with 3M spray. And then after I got it all to where I wanted it, I took a turkey carver, one of the ones you cut your turkey up with, and I shaved it off, and actually did some sanding with an orbital sander to get it all smooth, and then I pulled the seat over it. I started from the front and back like my buddy told me. I pulled that tight and then pulled the sides down and stapled it in, cut off the excess, and that seat was on the bike until it was sold. And I did raise it up for me. Those bikes, everybody says they're real high. It wasn't real high for me. I actually brought the seat up the tank probably another 2.5 inches from stock, and I definitely widened it out a little bit, which helped it. We're getting a little bit of rain here, sun shining and raining. So I'm gonna let you go, guys. That's just some thoughts I had today. You all take care now. You hear? And? All right. What about you, Dorothy? Bye-bye, Mommy.